Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're diving into a powerful Tet story filled with warmth, love, and a shocking question that could change everything. What if the person you love might actually be your sibling? Stay with me as we uncover the emotions, the fear, and the fragile hope that binds them together. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. In the soft golden light of a hanging lamp, Diep stands in the small kitchen, the warmth of Tet wrapping around her like a familiar embrace. The air is thick with the scent of soaked glutinous rice and mashed mung beans, earthy and comforting. A stack of dong leaves sits on the table, still damp, their green surfaces catching the light. Across from her, little Nee watches with wide, curious eyes. "Okay," Diep says gently, smiling as she guides her. "A layer of rice first. Spread it evenly, then some mung beans. Now a piece of pork, just like this. Add a bit more beans on top and cover everything with rice." Her hands move with quiet confidence. Every motion is steady, practiced, almost like she's not just making Banh Chung, but preserving something fragile and precious. Nee imitates her carefully, tongue peeking out in concentration. The first cake, though, comes out lopsided. The dong leaves don't line up properly, and the square shape looks more like a soft rectangle. For a split second, Nee's face falls, but Diep only laughs softly. "It's okay," she reassures her, taking Nee's small hands into her own. "Watch, Ms. Diep again. Fold it like this. Twist gently. Now tie it tight." Their laughter fills the kitchen, light and bright, pushing back the grey chill of the rain outside. In that moment, Diep feels it, the fragile warmth between them. A child learning not just how to wrap a cake, but how to be loved through patience and kindness. The second cake holds its shape better. Still a little uneven, but proudly standing. "I did it," Nee cheers. "Yes, you did," Diep replies, stroking her hair. A simple joy blooms in her chest, warm yet strangely delicate. Because beneath that happiness, there's a quiet, unnamed worry lingering in the background. Outside, rain taps steadily against the tin roof. Each drop sounds like a slow heartbeat, time moving forward, reminding her that good things, like Banh Chung, need hours of boiling before they become whole. Just as Diep wipes her hands clean after finishing a few cakes, her phone rings. It's her mother. The voice on the other end is warm but rushed. She says she'll return to her maternal village in Hatai in a day or two. She's already booked the car. After Tet, maybe on the second day, she plans to visit Diep and Nee, bringing gifts. Father is at home preparing for the holiday. Diep listens quietly. "Don't worry about me," her mother insists. "Everything's arranged." The call is short, too short. When it ends, a weight settles in Diep's chest. She stares at the silent screen for a moment longer than necessary. Memories rush in. Old village paths, wide rice fields, past Tet gatherings filled with relatives and laughter. Back when the house was crowded. Back when no one was missing. Now, it's phone calls and postponed visits. She forces a smile as she looks at Nai, who is happily nibbling on coconut jam, completely unaware of the shift in the air. "Mum says she'll come visit us after Tet," Diep says gently. But inside, something feels fragile, as if every connection, family ties, promises, even time itself, could stretch too thin. Rain continues tapping the roof, echoing her anxious thoughts. Diep sets the phone down and turns back to the pot, stirring the water slowly. It's not boiling yet, just heating. She stirs as if she could smooth out the uneasy feelings swirling inside her heart. This Tet feels different already, not just because her mother won't be here, but because nothing feels certain anymore. At the same time, miles away, James stands on an empty plot of land. The year-end wind carries the scent of damp soil and freshly cut wood. The sky is grey, the field bare and wide. Comrade Han walks over, measuring tape in hand. 50 meters across, Han says, stretching it out carefully. 35 meters long. James nods, eyes scanning the land. 2 workshops here and here, he explains, pointing to either side. A drying area in the middle. Wastewater goes into a storage tank at the back. No discharge into the stream. Everything needs to follow regulation. His voice is steady, but underneath, there's pressure. Construction permits must be secured right after the new year. Only approved timber, mahogany and acacia. Eucalyptus for future veneer. Industry code 3100. And the rule about tractors not being allowed on national highways. Details pile up like bricks. Han reminds him to be precise with paperwork. James assures him he'll handle the support, just needs help pushing things through. But as they measure and mark the land, James isn't just thinking about buildings, he's thinking about the future. He snaps photos of the plot with his phone. His fingers tremble slightly, not from the cold, but from the cost of everything. The investment, the risk, the promises he's made, especially the ones he's made to Diep. The wind lifts dust from the ground, swirling it around his shoes. It mirrors the way his thoughts feel, restless, unsettled. When Han leaves, James stands alone for a while longer. The land stretches wide before him, empty, full of possibility, full of danger. Success could change everything. Failure could take everything. He exhales slowly, staring at the barren soil. It looks a lot like his heart, right now. Ambitious, determined, but carrying hollow spaces that haven't been filled yet. Back in the kitchen, Diep and Ni carefully place the last wrapped cakes into the large pot. They stack them gently, filling every corner before pouring water until everything is submerged. The scent of dong leaves and rice fills the room. "We started boiling at 1, Diep says, checking the time. "It'll probably take until 9 or 10 tonight." Ni nods sleepily, proud but exhausted. Diep lowers the fire and decides to cook the leftover rice later for a simple dinner. Then she sits beside the pot, watching the first bubbles rise to the surface. Steam drifts upward like quiet dreams. For a rare moment, she feels peaceful. Nai eventually falls asleep in the chair, head tilted to one side. Diep smiles softly and covers her with a thin blanket. Love swells inside her, so strong it almost hurts. Her thoughts drift to James, to the future, to promises that feel both hopeful and uncertain. The water begins a steady boil now. The sound is rhythmic, reassuring. Banh Chung needs 8 to 10 hours. Love needs patience too. Even fear, she realizes, needs time before it either fades or grows stronger. Diep looks out the window at the rain sliding down the glass. Somewhere inside her, a small flame still burns. Maybe when the cakes are done, things will feel clearer. Maybe time will soften the sharp edges of uncertainty. Maybe. By the time night fully settles in, the kitchen is wrapped in warmth. The steady bubbling of the pot fills the room, and the scent of nearly cooked Banh Chung hangs thick in the air. The door opens. James steps inside, brushing rain from his shoulders. The moment he enters, the fragrance hits him, and something in his expression softens. James, you're here? Diep looks up from the stove. Nye fell asleep early. He nods, stepping closer to the fire. The heat brushes against his face, turning his cheeks slightly red. He sits down beside her, close enough that their shoulders nearly touch. Diep begins telling him about the day, about Nye's crooked first cake, about the laughter, about how proud she was when the second one finally held its shape. She explains again how long the cakes have to boil, 8 to 10 hours, and how simple their Tet preparations are this year. Just coconut jam, some candy, nothing extravagant. James listens carefully, more quietly than usual. After a pause, he says, "What if we go somewhere this Tet? Maybe the Northwest, just the three of us. Make some memories." Diep glances at him, surprised. "The Northwest?" "Yeah," he says, a faint spark in his eyes. "Mountains, fresh air, something different." She nods slowly. "I'm not going back to Hatai this year anyway." For a moment, warmth surrounds them. The crackle of firewood, the rising steam, the closeness between two people trying to build something steady. James looks at her with a kind of fragile hope, as if this small idea, a short trip, shared laughter, new memories, might be enough to bridge the invisible distance that's been growing between them. Diep smiles gently, but her eyes reveal something deeper. She can see the exhaustion in his face, the weight pressing down on him as the year ends. They sit like two puzzle pieces leaning toward each other, trying to fit perfectly despite the uneven edges. James reaches for her hand. Her palm is warm, real, solid. Outside, the rain continues falling, but inside, the fire burns steadily. It feels like a small symbol of their affection, fighting quietly against every obstacle. "We'll make more memories than this," he whispers. The pot bubbles softly. The night deepens. For a brief moment, the world narrows down to just the two of them sitting beside the glowing stove. But then the flickering firelight reveals something else. Worry. James exhales heavily, eyes fixed on the flames. "Work is overwhelming," he admits, voice low. "Year-end pressure. It's constant. Sometimes I don't know if I can handle it anymore." Diep feels her chest tighten. She grips his hand a little tighter. "You don't have to carry everything alone," she says softly. "Share it with me." He stays quiet for a while, staring into the fire as if searching for courage. Then he speaks. "What if we get tested and find out we're siblings?" The words land like ice in the room. Diep freezes. The air feels heavier instantly, as if even the steam from the pot has thickened. Her throat tightens. Tears gather in her eyes before she can stop them. "If that's true," she says slowly, her voice trembling, "then we have to accept it. We can't be together." The bubbling water seems louder now, or maybe everything else has gone silent. James lowers his head. His shoulders tremble faintly. For a few seconds, neither of them move. Then Diep wipes her tears away, forcing herself to stay steady. "You have to be strong," she says, even though her heart feels like it's cracking. "For me, for Nye, for Mom, we need you." She pulls him closer, feeling the rapid beat of his heart against her chest. Love and fear wrap around them at the same time, impossible to separate. James finally lifts his head. His eyes are red. "You still have me," he says hoarsely. "You, Nye. Mom." Diep nods, but inside, a cold emptiness spreads quietly. The possibility hangs between them like a shadow neither can escape. Outside, the rain grows heavier again, hitting the roof with urgency. Inside, the pot keeps boiling. indifferent to human fear. The fire continues burning, but warmth feels fragile now. Diep looks into his eyes, tears clinging to her lashes. "You're only allowed to be sad for a little while," she says, her voice shaking but determined. "After that, you have to be the pillar. For us." James swallows hard and nods. He tries to steady his breathing. "I'll try," he whispers. They fall into silence. Steam rises slowly from the pot, drifting upward like words left unsaid. Diep gently strokes the back of his hand, feeling the trembling gradually ease. In this moment, nothing is certain. Not the factory, not the test, not even tomorrow. But this feeling is real. Love intertwined with fear. Hope tangled with dread. James squeezes her hand tightly, as if anchoring himself to something solid before it slips away. The rain outside begins to soften, turning into distant dripping sounds. Inside, the scent of nearly finished Banh Chung spreads through the kitchen, a reminder that time doesn't stop, no matter how heavy the heart feels. Diep leans her head against his shoulder. They sit there listening to each other breathe. A faint hope still flickers between them. Weaker now, but not gone. Maybe blood ties won't stand in their way. Maybe this fear is only that, fear. Or maybe fate has already written something neither of them can change. The fire burns lower, casting long shadows across the walls. The pot continues its steady simmer. Tet is almost here, but inside their hearts, a quiet battle continues, between love and destiny, between courage and surrender. Neither of them speaks again. They simply sit side by side, holding onto each other in the dim kitchen light, as if that small act alone might be enough to protect what they have. The night stretches on. The cakes keep boiling, and somewhere between the sound of water and the fading rain, their fragile bond refuses to break, stubborn, tender, and uncertain, yet still alive.